Who's ready to win the day in sports? I know you are. Welcome to Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com, Monday through Friday, noon to 1 p.m. Eastern. I'm Justin Fensterman, and let's break everything down from a fantasy sports perspective. Good afternoon, everybody, or morning if you're not on the East Coast. My name is Justin Fensterman, and welcome to Fantasy Sports Daily here on the Elite Plus Network, powered by FantasyGuru.com. It is a great time to be a sports fan, especially being part of the Elite Mafia. As you can see today, a little bit of a different look, but still the same in some ways. Got the jersey on, the threads of the week. The Eagles. Who are the Eagles? Well, you're going to be able to see tonight on True TV, 6:40 p.m. Eastern, I believe, is the start time, as my alma mater, American University, winners of the Patriot League, taking on Mount St. Mary's, a team that they're very familiar with, a nice local matchup here. The winner of that takes on Duke, loses to Duke by 40 points on Friday. Normally I go sleeveless, though. Today I go with the sleeves, and that is because in college I feel like there's a lot more t-shirts and jerseys than just the jerseys with the biceps exposed. Happy to see everybody here. Big show we have for you today, talking about not only the NCAA tournament and what we have to offer at FantasyGuru.com, but also, as we always do, previewing the NBA slate, 11 games on tap. And thank goodness, because it's not a split slate, which I'm thrilled about. We've had a few of these this year where when it's a big slate, sometimes the late games are included, sometimes there's not. But as we've seen this week in the NBA, there's a lot more late games that are starting. So it's very hard to take 4 to 5 games off the slate potentially. So that's why we have a uniform slate on FanDuel and DraftKings. So with that right there, let's start by telling you, and then I'll go over what's cooking on the show today. As always, free show for all of you, really talking about everything we do at the FG. Ray Flowers hosts Monday, Tuesday, Thursdays, and Fridays, and you get me for the madness, the midweek madness edition here on Wednesdays, noon Eastern, all week long. Ray Flowers is on with Jeff Nance on the Elite Sports Show, which you can hear Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern. Follow me at Fensty Sports on X and Instagram, and also in our Fantasy Guru Discord channels at Fensty, always hanging out in the DFS NBA channel and the NBA betting channel too. So why do I have this random American University Eagles jersey on? Is it really that random? I went to the college. Quick little history lesson before we welcome our first of 2 guests on today's show. Very jam-packed. I went to American University. I went from 05 to 09, and I've got a long history with American University dating back to before I was even around. My parents met at American University in the mid-'70s. They went to school there. My mom's brother went to school there. My dad's brother went to school there. So going into college searching, I was very anti-American University. I wanted a completely different experience. I'm not a very much follow in your footsteps type of person. I like to create my own path. It's just how I've always been. And so when I went to visit American University, I was so biased against it. I was going because I did like Washington, D.C., and I saw a few schools in the area, and I didn't want to be too far away, not too far away from my home back in New York. So when I went down there, immediately it just clicked. I saw myself, I visualized myself on the campus. It's on the outskirts of Washington, D.C., and it has a very nice quad to it. It's not a city campus like George Washington University, or even has a little bit more of a city feel like Georgetown. American's a very beautiful campus, not that big. I want to say undergrad 4,500 to 5,000, and I was there from 05 to 09. When I got to American University, they had never been to the NCAA tournament, and it was cool because I actually, to further the connection, I got to broadcast the basketball games for CSTV. For those that remember that back in the day, it was early internet streaming in the mid-2000s, in about 07, where you'd be able to hear the audio of the game or even a video component that was also charted up on American University's website. So I did play-by-play broadcasting my junior and senior year. I did it for field hockey, volleyball. I did it for men's and women's soccer. And then I did men's and women's basketball, which was the coup de grace. And American University, continuing, by the way, on how important American is to me, I met my wife at American University. I proposed to my wife years later after we started dating at American University. And it's just AU. I had such a great experience. I've met some of my best friends in the world there. And I loved my American University experience so much that I didn't go back to New York after that. I stayed down in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. And that's where I started working at SiriusXM. And here I am all these years later, now hanging with you right here as part of the Elite Mafia, the good old FG, fantasyguru.com. So with American meaning so much to me being part of the broadcasting team they got after they won their first Patriot League title, first ever berth to the NCAA tournament in 2008, they then got a radio contract from a local station. So that's when more professional broadcasters than college kids at the time got to broadcast those games. So I did it my entire junior year. I broadcasted play-by-play for the Patriot League quarterfinals and semis. ESPN took over for the finals. They won it. They then lost to Tennessee in what was a very competitive game in 2008. My senior year in 2009, I got to broadcast the first half of the game, kind of as a secondary broadcast to the main one, just more access. And then they realized we don't need two broadcasts on the same thing. We could just broadcast one to everything. And that was the end of me being the American University men's basketball broadcaster. But I still did the women's broadcast. And even after I graduated, I filled in at times as well. And that's why it was so great, because when you think of a sports broadcaster and you think of Syracuse, everyone's like, you got to go to Syracuse, Newhouse. Well, everyone goes to Newhouse to want to be the next best sportscaster. American University is known for more being into politics than sports. So I was in a bit of a minority not being into politics, and I was all into the AU D1 athletics. They made it to the NCAA tournament again in 2009. They faced Villanova, which was in Philly, pretty much a home game for Villanova. And they were up by 10 at halftime, and then they lost the leads. And then that was the end of them there. And I graduated after that. They made it again in 2014, which was a very big surprise. They upset Boston University in the Patriot League final. And then Wisconsin that year, where it was a 2-15 game. Wisconsin that year completely destroyed them. So catching you all up now, I know a lot about the American University basketball team. For those that are looking to wager on tonight's game against Mount St. Mary's, for those that have those pre-tournament itches to get the betting going, AU Mount St. Mary's, we do have a bet on the site, which is big, the bet on the site. I'm not going to tell you what that is, though. No, I'm not going to do that, though, because to find out what that bet is that our own Ted Schuster has, boom, check into that link, sign up for our March Madness Guide team previews, a live stream taking place at fantasyguru.com at 5 p.m. Eastern today, previewing the entire tournament, contenders, sleepers, articles. You get that along with the team previews when you sign up using that link that you see right there for just $40. And it's a guide that not only will help you set your bracket, but will help you as well throughout the tournament, because you get access to our Discord and some of our analysts, including Ted Schuster, Scott Bonder, Russell Clay, who's going to join me in a few minutes. They're going to be putting bets in along the way too. So I'll say this regarding the American Mount St. Mary's game. American plays at the third slowest pace of any team in this tournament. And when you're playing at a slow pace, it does help against teams that are a bit quicker. But Mount St. Mary's, the thing that they're good at is rebounding. So American, with being how small they are, they've got their one big guy, Matt Rogers, who's excellent, all Patriot League team. Good outside shooter, over 40%, I believe, at around 43%. Kind of gets into his head a little bit, and when ticky-tap fouls are called, then all of a sudden he gets upset, gets in his head, sometimes gets teed up. Not good. They need him in the game because the Mount is a very good rebounding team. They've got a couple of guys that are double-digit scorers, and because of that, American, which plays very good defense, by the way, Greg Jones, their sophomore, excellent perimeter defender, doesn't always bring offense, but will help shut that down a little bit. AU's inside presence is not going to be able to help propel them. if they get the lane open tonight because they've got a quick 5'8" guard in Elijah Stevens. Again, this is low mid-majors we're talking about. We're not talking about Malawach and Duke just yet. So you got to remember what we're talking about here, a Patriot League team. But AU can shoot threes. They play good defense. Do I think that they can win? I do, but I personally am not betting on it. It's going to be a very close game, identical records. And with American, they're going to be having to hit their threes. Jeff Sprouse, who I've been a big-time hater on all year long, has finally come through in the final 4 to 5 games, including the Patriot League tournament games. He's hitting threes. He's going to have to be hitting those threes tonight because it's going to be very, very difficult to get anything going when it comes to the Mount. So that's my thing, because at the end of the day, I would love to see American take on Duke. My wife loves Duke very much. And let's say lightning struck after that and American beat Duke. Well, I just really give my friends a whole lot of crap after that are Duke fans, because it's just fun to do that here. Just like it's fun to talk to my guest at this time. You know him, you love him, part of fantasyguru.com, one of our senior analysts. Here he is. It's Russell Clay. What's going on, Russ? How you doing, man?
What's going on, man? Big night for the old buddy Justin here, huh?
That's right, man. My AU Eagles taking on the Mount tonight. It's going to be a close game, low-scoring game, very gritty, I feel like, between these teams. And the winner goes on to lose to Duke. But even before that main event begins, we actually have our own main event beginning on the site at 5 p.m. Eastern today. And that is a stream as part of our March Madness Guide, a stream with you, Scott Bonder, I believe as well. The model, our boss, also going to be involved too. Why don't you tell everybody what's coming up and what you got cooking on the site today?
Yes, this is our annual tradition of the live stream. I've been on many years, aka this is my second year. And we're going to be previewing the tournament, of course, but going over our content that we've put on the site. We have, of course, previewed every single team with team profiles. We're going to be making picks in a bracket and going through and having a good time, I would expect. Of course, Ted Schuster is not going to be with us, who is our main college basketball guy, but you can check out his bets and all that good stuff. And you can go check out his bets from all this year in the Discord. So tons of good stuff going on at the site right now.
Yeah, and that's what I was telling everyone, Russ, because with betting legalized in a lot of states and then Underdog and Prize Picks still being there, it keeps people in the game more. It's not like, oh, I just lost, Duke just lost to American. I lost my champion. I'm screwed. See you later. No, it keeps you in the game a little bit more. And you guys are doing a great job. Ted is constantly putting bets up there, knows how to read these college teams. I was talking to him about, I was mentioning pace before. American plays at a very slow pace. And one of the things I was talking to Ted about is Ted was saying to me that is very advantageous when you've got a team that plays that slow. You're trying to disrupt the rhythm of their opposition. So I got to ask you, man, I don't even know this. What school did you go to?
UMass. I grew up 10 minutes from UMass. I kept my brain turned on at the 98-99 season. And it's kind of like you start a movie, like you start in the middle of a war movie and you don't remember all the nice times. Like I don't remember the Marcus Camby number one in the country, John Calipari years. I just know I walked into a really, really nice state-of-the-art stadium in the Mullins Center, and then we won 5 games, 10 games every year because we got the death penalty. So I know there was something good there. I just don't know. I don't remember what it was.
So. Right. By the way, Russell's a very familiar face on Fantasy Sports Daily, normally joins Ray Flowers on Friday, but being that the tournament is starting tomorrow, for anyone that doesn't have their brackets filled out, again, you see the link right here to get our guide, everything from Discord access to team previews that Russell just said, the access to our stream that's happening a little bit later on, contenders and sleepers as well. And I got to ask you, Russell, without giving everything away, I got to ask you, man, who is one team that is in your Final Four?
Yeah, I like a few of these teams here when you go through all of them. BYU is a team that I've been a fan of since last year. They have a much different roster this year. But it's also the same, it's the same pedigree, it's the same style, and unlike American, they have a high scoring, high paced, outscore you type team. And win or lose, they are going to be a team I love and root for as we kind of get in there. They are 6 seed against this VCU team. So that game right there, VCU BYU, whoever wins that game, I think is going to go a long way in the tournament. So you may look at a 6-11 and say, all right, neither of these teams have a shot long term. But when you look at VCU, they play great defense. They have a few good scorers. But if they can get past BYU, then I'm going to pick them to go a long way. It's one of those in the bracket. You pick that one, and then you say, all right, I'm sending that one to the Elite Eight or Final Four.
Yeah, there's a lot of strategy that goes into filling out your bracket because to me, especially in leagues where upset points, where I feel like in most pools, Russ, you could tell me if I'm wrong on this. I feel like in most pools, there is the upset point differential that you do get, along with whatever the point allotment is for the round for a win that you get. And wouldn't you say that's the case? Upset points for the most part?
It depends because a lot of people have been doing brackets for decades now or a decade or two now.
Yeah.
So a lot of those are just traditional, which, hey,
that
if you
sucks, man, you need upset points, dude.
Hey, if you can get
chance, you're gonna have everyone picking Duke.
If you and again, if you have multi-entries, so people can do 3 to 5 entries or 2 to 3 to 5 entries.
Yeah.
You got to have a chalk one in there, right? You got to just fire off the all ones and
I didn't even
twos.
think about that. People do that. It kind of ruins the fun. Just like,
It
you
does.
know what? This might be a hot take. Just like multi-entry DFS contests ruin the freaking fun. The sites can make especially those high dollar tournaments, they can make all the money that they want. Multi-entry turns me off more than anything. And our lives are DFS pretty much at this point. And multi-entry turns me off so much into DFS and in these contests.
I 100% agree. But if you are playing in that type of one,
yes,
you got to protect yourself. But yeah, single entry and rewards, that's where we want to be at in 25. We want to have rewards for hitting the upsets and multi. I saw one where you get all double digit seeds wins. You get extra points for that. So I think that's a fun little element as well.
Ooh, I mean, any teams that are ranked highly, maybe in the first 4 or 5 seeds that you think are overseeded and could get kind of brushed aside early on.
Say that again?
With any teams that you feel are overseeded, we're given a very generous seeding by the committee, essentially. Maybe a team that's a 4 or 5 that really should be like a 6 or an 8. Like, for instance, I hear that a lot of what I hear in conversations are Louisville. Louisville got screwed. That's what a lot of people I'm hearing are saying, that they're an 8. Really, they have the caliber to be a 4 or 5. Are there any teams that it's the other way that were given generous consideration for a top 5 seed that now they're overseeded and could be ripe to get eliminated and upset?
So just an overarching view of this season, because we're dealing with conference realignment and conferences going away, there is no Pac-12 anymore. We have these super big conferences, and I'm sure everyone saw this, but there were 13 teams from the SEC that got in. That's dumb. That's dumb. We all have to agree that should never happen. And even the day when there are just, 2 to 3 super conferences, and that's how we do this tournament, we can't be having 13 teams in from one conference. So my thought going into this is, all right, 3 to 4 of these teams have to be fraudulent here, right? Like that's just how it works. There can't be 13 good teams from one conference out of 20 teams. So that's what I'm looking at there. That is the way I've kind of shifted. You look at the Kansases of the world where they're a 7 seed, and I'm not sure they even really belong as a 7 seed. And then, one team that I've loved all year is St. John's, and they're a 2 seed. I don't think they're overrated, but I'm really excited to see what they do this year.
They got to bring some more offense, man. Very solid defensive team. Aren't they like the best defensive team in the country, St. John's?
Yeah, and half of those are Rick Pitino yelling and intimidating the opponent. That's some of those rim outs are purely because of Pitino there,
Right, of course. But they don't bring. That's the thing. They're going to need to bring some offense, though. What do you think about UNC? Because it's a little bit controversial that they got into the tournament. Russell, I've watched more college basketball this year than I have in a very long time. And my wife being a big Duke fan, I'm watching a lot of ACC basketball. And so I've seen UNC a few times. I really just wasn't, even in the non-games where they played Duke, I wasn't that into them. Cadeau, RJ Davis, I overall just really was not into them. And then, Duke gets a few guys hurt, Flags out, Malik Brown is out, and then UNC's down and they have that nice comeback. So they've had all of a sudden this fire in them. They've been able to hang in games. They beat the snot out of San Diego State last night. So I got to ask you, man, I mean, this team is a team that faces major competition every single year. We just saw them kind of hang in there in the semifinal or whatever it was. I got to ask you, man, when it comes to UNC, can they hang in there at this point in their first round matchup?
So along these same lines as the SEC, did North Carolina belong in? I guess it doesn't matter at this point because they not only got in, but they destroyed San Diego State in a non-competitive fashion, showing that, they have the talent to do this. And clearly the selection committee saw something in them despite their, 13 losses and getting in at an at-large is pretty wild. So clearly they see something. My statement is they probably aren't. They're in a clear down year for North Carolina, but they still have the imprint. RJ Davis, a guy that's been around forever. I mean, 5th-year senior, and he's been on some really important North Carolina teams. So teams like that, where they have experience there, and we're seeing more of that now. Conference realignment, NIL era stuff, where we have 23, 24, 25-year-old guys consistently on these rosters. Kind of buying the last couple of years, we've seen these teams that win that first round as the 11th seed, they can go on a run. We saw Clemson do that. So yeah, could be a good run for UNC.
Of the final question for you, Russell, and thank you so much for giving me some time. I know you got the live stream going on at fantasyguru.com a little bit later on, 5 p.m. Eastern today on the site. You'll also join Ray Flowers on Friday, as you do every single week. Which of the 4 1 seeds do you think will have the toughest time making it to the Final Four?
Oh, man. So Auburn is a good team. I just have trust issues with them and with this roster and with this coach. I have trusted them in the past, Justin, and they have failed me. I love Broom. I love this squad, but this is we're taking off the analysis helmet and we're just going with our heart here. But I have watched this team over the last couple years, and they're clearly superior, but I don't know. There's just something about the game flow. There's something about how it ends up working out where they're a Sweet 16 round of 32 and out. So I don't know if it's Louisville. I don't know if it's the next round after that, but I am going to be sweating that out. Even in the brackets, I do have them in the Elite Eight and Final
Yeah,
Four.
the South is going to be tough for them. You're right. I mean, UC San Diego, A&M, Louisville, who you just mentioned, we were just talking about, UNC. If Iowa State was fully healthy, I mean, it'd be even tougher there. That right there is going to be very tough. I'm with you for Auburn to get past. Just a lot of really good teams. Some of them, when we talked about it with Louisville here, maybe a little bit disrespected when it came to the committee. Russell, tell everybody where they can find you. Tell everybody what you have coming up, because besides covering, of course, NCAA, you cover multiple sports. You're a big football guy too, and it is big time dynasty consideration time. So what do you have going on in the good old FG?
Yeah, big time heading up to the NFL draft. Rumors abound heading out of the combine, and we are having a great time. We are doing daily player profiles with the staff over there, myself, Armando Marsal, Rich Mileto, Tyler Beaker, on all the main dynasty viable prospects. We'll probably get to 40 or 50 by draft time. So definitely looking forward to that. And then, yes, 5 p.m. Eastern, we are going to be doing our live stream. So really a couple hours, and we'll be back with you guys doing that. So come join us.
Yeah, final thing Demetrius says in the chat here, he thinks Montana is going to upset Wisconsin.
Ooh.
What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, man. Well, let me tell you, I just bet against Wisconsin a few weeks ago, and they scored like 170 points. So, you know what I don't like about Wisconsin? They lost my under bet, and they were trying to score up 30 with 2 minutes left. So,
right.
Let's go, Demetrius. I hope they lose.
There you go. At Russell J. Clay on X. Russell, thank you again for stopping by, man.
All right. Thanks, Justin.
Yes, there he is. Russell Clay, again, just a mensch and a guy who's just a great, great analyst when it comes to everything we've got going on at fantasyguru.com. A lot of our analysts cover multiple sports. I do a lot of basketball, but I also do some football. You see me do injury information. Also, I've done streams on auctions too. I love me some fantasy sports auctions. You all know that about me too. So those are the sports I cover. Russell as well. I thank Russell for hanging out. And again, make sure you'll leave the link up here for a little bit longer. Make sure you get our guide, $40, and it'll help you throughout the tournament. And mainly the big thing is here, besides the stream, besides the team previews, gives you access to Discord where we have the bets coming in hot from our own Ted Schuster. So make sure you hang out there. Let's get to what's going on for the rest of the show here, because we got Serge Singh. You haven't seen Serge a lot appear on this show, but Serge is one of our analysts, also covers a multitude of sports, including basketball. And you see him with me on Mondays generally, then towards the end of the weekend, one day during the weekend too. But let's talk about what is going on in the NBA at this time, because we have this 11-game slate. Again, it's uniform on FanDuel and DraftKings. A lot of players up in the air here, including just seeing the Jazz, who recently got fined 6 figures by the league because they keep having players that are out the whole time. Lauri Markkanen will not play, but apparently Walker Kessler is going to play. So now it didn't really seem like he was going to play before, but now that was just upgraded. So that was a change right there, a big time change too for this slate, because having a guy like Walker Kessler in there, one of the fiercest offensive rebounders in the league, that definitely changes things a little bit. But no Lauri Markkanen tonight for the Utah Jazz. John Collins also out, so Kyle Filipowski, I think, still holds his value. The guard situation is going to be very difficult. It's a great, great matchup, which is why I'm obsessed more with the front court of Filipowski and Walker Kessler, because the Wizards' front court has been weak all year, although Alex Sarr is starting to get more productive. I like him on the other side too, but the guard situation is very tough to figure out. You've got Collier, you've got Clarkson, you've got George, you've got Sexton all in there. And again, it's 4-3 spots with no marketing. It opens things up a little bit more. Maybe Clarkson shifts up to the 3 at times, but for the most part, Juzang's there, and that's going to create even more clutter. So it's been a lot harder when all guards are active for Utah to trust them. But the game flow is outstanding, and that's a game that I'm going to be building around a lot tonight. And with that being what it is, we have no Jordan Poole, or rather Jordan Poole currently listed as doubtful, which is huge because if Jordan Poole sits, it increases the value of just about everybody, including the aforementioned Alex Sarr, though the matchup is going to be tougher now against Kessler, but it's still beatable. And then also Bub Carrington becomes a big deal because from what we've seen, there's no Middleton tonight. There's no Marcus Smart tonight. So Bub Carrington, no Jordan Poole, or he's doubtful. And even Keyshawn George is also questionable. That's going to increase that value. So we could be seeing a lot of lineups with Bub Carrington and Justin Champagnie, who his scoring makes him very scoring dependent, but at the same time, we've seen games where other guys are out and he gets serious minutes where he rebounds a little bit more. The Jazz are a little bit deceiving. They don't allow a lot of rebounding. I've gotten burnt on props because I've played into the game flow because they run at a pretty quick pace. Although it's slowed down at times, I still think it's going to be pretty fast tonight going up against Washington. So that's the one thing we have to remember, and especially even considering Sarr now. Sarr is in my write-up. I am on the write-up. Armando Marsal is on the cheat sheet. You'll have us in Discord. And if you look all the way down on the screen you see here, you'll see that Watch Along Wednesday has returned to its original day. I did it on Tuesday last week because of the Patriot League final being at American. I got to go, which was great. They beat the stuffing out of Navy, and they won the title because of that. But this week, we're back here on Wednesdays. Only a few more of Watch Along Wednesdays to go because they go through the regular season, and then that is it. We'll also have some other announcements coming up too for the site that could impact Watch Along Wednesday, but I'll save that for now and just say that Watch Along Wednesday has just a few Watch Along Wednesdays left, including tonight. I sit in Discord, in the DFS NBA Discord, and I literally just hang out. I talk basketball. I give my reactions. I wish there was a little bit more interaction. I like talking with all of you, even if I'm talking with one person. It's the time to learn about the league, to learn what teams we can trust versus what teams we can at this point, even talking futures too. So I'm just literally making comments about what I'm seeing on the court, what players are performing well, some of the trends I've noticed. So it's almost like NBA office hours. I love it very, very much, and it's a lot of fun. So it's pretty much NBA office hours. Some of the other injuries, as you can see, that we're going to be mindful and watching out for tonight includes no SGA. This is big for the Thunder. No Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. No Jalen Williams. I saw that Hartenstein was questionable before, and this can actually lead to us being pretty into Chet Holmgren tonight among some of the other value options for the Thunder. Lou Dort's been banged up for the Thunder. So yeah, they've been dealing with some injuries. They got some players that are going to be out, and that's where we could take advantage of this team tonight. Other players that are going to be out: Anthony Davis, LeBron James, Ja Morant, Tyrese Maxey. Paul George is done for the year, according to reports. Domantas Sabonis came back and then hurt himself again. Jalen Brunson, Amen Thompson. I mentioned Jalen Williams. Trey Murphy hurt his shoulder. He's out for the rest of the year. Walker Kessler, who you see is listed as out, is actually now going to be in. No John Collins, his teammate. No Bradley Beal. Gafford Lively still out. Ayton's still out. Hachimura and Drummond are still out. And then doubtful tonight, Poole, Oubre, Jeremy Grant too. And someone that is here with us hanging out for a little bit. The guests just keep on rolling from the fantasyguru.com. Covers a lot of sports for FG. It's Serge Singh. Serge, what's going on, man?
What's good, man?
Dude, I mean, how many sports do you cover for fantasyguru.com?
Let's see. NBA is my primary sport. UFC, MLB, and some PGA.
Amazing right there. Amazing.
Yeah.
Just multi-sport madness from you at all times. And we've been kind of collaborating, I feel like, a little bit more, coming up with our core fours, because this time of the year, even though the NBA is trying to limit it as much as possible, we're still seeing teams rule out a hell of a lot of players, and even teams that are good, like the Thunder, getting investigated too, man. So I got to ask you, when it comes to your core fours, what goes into your core fours that you put out there? And do you build them from more of a GPP mindset in a large slate like this, or more of a cash?
On a large slate, honestly, GPP is fun, but since I primarily play single entries and I look out for our subs who really care about cashing more than trying to take down. Like, well, taking down is amazing. Like, everyone wants to bank something, but at the end of the day, you want to be profitable, and profitable is meaning you want to be cashing more than you're not cashing. So when I come up with a core, I'm trying to look at the mindset of what I would do for my lineup when I'm building in order to cash, which is I'm looking for plays that are going to six times to like floors of players that I think they'll get around six times to potentially seven times plus ceilings on a large slate or even a small slate. But small slate, the pool is a lot smaller, so it's okay to like differentiate a bit and leverage. But on a large slate, you want to find those environments where it's relatively safe, because on these large slates you've seen lately with all these injury leverages and everything, it's been high cash lines. So you want these, you don't want to take too many chances. So that's where I want.
Yeah, no, I hear you on that. And then going into tonight's 11 gamer, where it is uniform on both FanDuel and DraftKings, which we haven't seen. We've seen split slates, but we're seeing more 10 p.m. Eastern starts, which is helping us DFS content creators out there having the uniform slate. What games at this point do you feel, because we've got a few high totals here, like Cleveland, Sacramento, Memphis, Portland, for instance. What games are you going to be building around?
The first game I stood out to me, and it happened from a couple days ago when I saw the injuries and how the coach pulled everybody. The Washington Utah game is very interesting to me because I see Jordan Poole and Kaishan are both questionable, and after seeing Poole get benched in the second half, I don't expect him to play this game. And Brogdon, Middleton, Smart are already ruled out. So Washington, I mean, they've probably been tanking for much of the season, but it looks like they're trying to look to see who they like a lot, and they're trying to play the young players. And then Utah's, we already know they've been investigated. Like, they're trying to tank. I think Kessler's already out.
No,
Collins is
he's
out.
in now. They
Oh, he's
updated
in
it.
now.
He's going to
They
play.
Oh,
So
he's gonna play.
that kind of waters down a little bit
Okay.
Alex Sarr for me.
Yeah. So if Kessler plays that, because obviously Filipowski would have been a lot
Oh, I
cleaner.
was so ready,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
It was just updated right there. Whoop, I think we might have lost Serge here for a second. So as we get Serge back, I think there he is right there. Let me get him back up. Boom, Serge, you got us? Can you hear me, Serge? Can you hear me now? Okay, we cannot hear Serge. So we'll get back to Serge, but that's what I was talking about before with this game. And that's why I loved it so much. And I still do, by the way. I still absolutely do love this game tonight between Washington and Utah from a pace standpoint. If you've been following a lot of my work and you read the articles I put out there, I talk a lot about the importance of pace and the impact it can have, especially those slower moving teams and offenses that struggle. Giving them a higher ceiling definitely helps with things. I think we got Serge Singh back, by the way, from fantasyguru.com, covers multiple sports. Serge, you're back with us. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm good. I don't know what happened to my stream. It just totally went out. So
No, it's all good, man.
yeah.
It's all good. So now that we know, let's kind of like workshop this a little bit, because this game is one of the most appealing games on the slate. Now that we know Kessler is going to be playing tonight, how do we attack this game from the Utah standpoint? Because right before you came on, I was talking to everybody about how, yeah, from the front court standpoint, it seems pretty direct. But from the backcourt standpoint, man, you got the combination of Clarkson and Sexton and George and Collier and Juzang, who's also there. How are you handling Utah?
So for me right now with Kessler in, I can say that backcourt is a little too crowded for me. And obviously one can go off because it's Washington, and Washington is one of the worst defenses in the league. But I feel like I'm going to attack the front court more. Kessler could be a great play. Uh, Obviously, Filipowski will be coming off the bench. I expect Potter to start at PF, I'm guessing. So those are two. Kessler's very interesting. I mean, it hurts Sar, but Sar's been balling out. So that could be a potential run back, front court run back. But Utah is very Kessler being in help were made me not as confident as picking them, especially with 11 games. I might be able to find better spots for the center position, but Kessler could smash. So I like him playing. I just don't trust them, right? Right? If
Right.
Kessler has a great game. I remember last game he got 4 fouls, and he was just kind of lackadaisical. So it's like I don't want those guys. I want guys that I know it's gonna play 35 minutes, gonna have the volume, the usage. Washington, though, I feel like Bub Carrington and guys like that are gonna like handle a lot of usage and volume and take over. So I feel like I'm a little safe for Washington because don't remember, if we all know, Utah's a pretty bad defense as well.
Yeah. By the way, I'm just letting you all know right now I haven't written up the bet just yet, but I will be looking. I don't even know what the line is at this point, and I'll have to look it up regardless. But Bub Carrington's assist line is going to be huge. The Jazz, I mean, he gets rebounds too. The Jazz don't give up a ton of boards. They give up a lot of assists, though, and that's going to be huge. And Bub Carrington's price, it's very solid, and it's going to be one of the best values of the day. Let's talk about Philadelphia, speaking of value, because we know how banged up they are. Their main guys aren't going to be in. Oubre is doubtful. We got the report, though, Serge, a few days ago, that maybe even a week ago, that they were going to start streamlining minutes for even guys like Yabusele and Quentin Grimes and Oubre. And then we see Quentin Grimes playing a full complementary of minutes, and his price point is so high up now. How are you handling Grimes, being that he's been so good? And are there any Philly value pieces that you're trusting?
So, honestly, I'm trusting them. I'm just going to go out and say, after what I saw last game, and like those starters were, like you said, Grimes played 40 minutes. I know they went to overtime, but I don't know if it was a hot hand thing because Grimes is so hot. Like, when I see Quentin Grimes and he's 8,100, that was on Monday, right?
Right.
I was very skeptical, a little skeptical, only because they're playing the Rockets, who basically I was shocked they were almost down 30. And I was actually hoping that game would stay a blowout because then that game went nuclear out of nowhere because they came back, went to overtime. Grimes had like 75 fantasy points. Jalen Green went off. Jabari went off. It was a mess because I faded that game looking towards the later games, but that was on another slate. But based off what I saw is, Yabusele, like, I don't even like his output to begin with.
Right.
But the backcourt, like, of Butler and Grimes tonight, I'm going to say, like, despite that Grimes price, the matchup is better tonight. So, like, I don't mind going there tonight. Will I go there tonight is another question. Because now we know OKC is resting Shy Guy, so they're going to be a little undermanned. I don't think their defense and they're still a 12-point favorite, which is crazy, but
yes, I noticed
I don't
that
understand
too.
that. I was very, is it just the Chet? It's just Chet, right?
It's literally, if Hartenstein is questionable,
yeah.
So we got to see if Hartenstein is playing. But I believe, I think it's the following players are out for OKC: Williams, Gilgeous-Alexander. I think Dort is out for them tonight.
Yeah,
too.
Dort is out.
And then Hartenstein is questionable. And Casey Wallace
is questionable as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know how they're still a 12-point favorite, but it is. I might just take Philly 12 right now, just off the. Actually, I may take Philly money line. Who knows?
Live betting on the air right now. You said it though. Jared Butler, very fair price point tonight.
Yeah.
And also somebody else that I put in, because I'm looking at my big board right now. I always write up a big board and then I trim it like a Christmas tree or whatever. So, and I eliminate players. Also, like a Justin Edwards isn't bad tonight too.
He played 40 minutes last on Monday as well, right? Yeah.
Right. And on a big slate like that, you want a few guys like Philly's like a dead team pretty much.
Yeah.
So it's like you want guys that are like innings eaters, like gas guzzlers. Like
that is the thing. A couple of these Philly, like I don't think Grimes is blowout proof, but like players like Butler and Justin Edwards and Council, guys like that, Shafino, like even if OKC were supposed to blow them out, I think those guys would still be playing some minutes in the fourth quarter. So they're with their price point, they're relatively more safe. Grimes would be an upside play.
if Hartenstein is in, do you like Holmgren tonight, or is that just a stay away?
I like if Hartenstein is in, I think I like both.
Okay.
Right? But once again, this slate is stacked with great big plays. So like,
right,
I don't know if I'm 100% honed in on that. But like from the OKC side, like obviously if Case and Wallace is out, Isaiah Joe and Aaron Wiggins are going to be probably chalky players. But in terms of the front court, I think Holmgren and Hartenstein. We saw Hartenstein randomly smash the other game with Chet back. So we could see Philly has no front court to speak of, so those guys could have big games.
Hartenstein will handle the rock a little bit more.
Yeah,
too.
exactly.
So that'll up his assist ceiling.
His peripherals are gonna have upside.
Right. Now you mentioned centers because I'm trying to figure out what to do because I have about 8 centers and I'm trying to eliminate 2 of them. 11 game slate. I'll normally write analysis for 6 guys and a few value plays. I mean, we could talk about how do you decide whether or not to go after a Jokic on a given slate? He's always priced up very high, the most expensive player. Denver's not the best team, so they're in games constantly. I've seen them have trouble closing out games, which bodes well for Jokic. How do you go about deciding whether or not to even write him up versus fade him?
With Jokic, I always try to look into the slate with trying to fit him in.
Right.
If it's easy to fit him in, because how I look at Jokic is you're always getting, from a standpoint, when I want to play him, I'm always looking at a floor of 60 fantasy points. So if I'm getting 60 fantasy points from him, and let's say I want to score 300, that means I want enough value for the rest of my lineup to score like around 240 to 250 fantasy points, right? So right. if my value guys, if it's a big slate and there's a lot of injury leverage and we get a lot of bare like 3K plays, 4K plays, then yeah, I'm going straight to Jokic because I don't have to look for the mid-range players that are scoring 40, 50 when I could just jam in Jokic and get a 60, 70 with 80 plus upside, right?
Right.
So those guys like a Jokic, a Shy Guy, a Doncic, you know what you're getting. So it's the sacrifice of the injury of the salary. Is it worth it to jam in a bunch of value guys? Sometimes value sucks, so you don't want to jam them in. But if value is great, then it's an easy fit for me.
Well, I mean, Jalen Brunson is still out, so Karl Anthony Towns has an excellent matchup from an everything standpoint. Even when Wemby was in, bro, this team can't defend bigs. It's so weird. They've got aggressive guys. They don't have Wemby anymore. Okay, they've got Jeremy Sohan, who plays very aggressively, and they're still not able. They have Harrison Barnes, good elbow perimeter defender. They can't keep anybody out of the paint. They give up so many boards. So it's Towns sub 10K on both sites is very good. But beyond Towns after that, where are we going? We talked about Sarr. Now that Kessler's back in, Sarr to me is still in play because he's been producing, but it's not a must play. Maybe I would even consider coring him. I mean, who else do you like at that, I guess, between 7 to 8K range? I mean, can we trust Vucevic to do damage in 32 minutes? Joval, can we trust him to do damage in a decent matchup? I mean, or do we go down to like the Duran and Miles Turners of the world?
For me, I think as of right now, when I just took a glance on the slate before this morning, it's like I'm either gonna pay up at those high if Jokic is in, or today I'm actually really liking the Knicks, not just because I'm a fan, but I think finally they're playing the Spurs. I don't know, the last few matchups hasn't been enticing, but usually with the Knicks, you love the Knicks because Tibbs plays their guy. There's his guys like 40 minutes as starters, right? But then recently I've been with Brunson out, their offense has been a little, iffy. But now against the Spurs offense, defense, it's like, okay, now I can go back to looking at these Knicks, and Towns is definitely very interesting to me because the Spurs are giving up the second most raw points to opposing centers. So, like, if Jokic is out or Jokic is in, there, Cat does have like 55, 60 point upside tonight. I think he's been having very solid games, but he hasn't had that monster game yet. And I think this, with Brunson out, I think this is opportunity for him to shine. Then honestly, like you guys said, like Joval and these other guys like Bam and stuff like that, I'm really not. They're not really standing out to me
Oh,
tonight.
Bam has sucked lately. I don't know.
Yeah.
Dude, what's Miami doing? Where in Bam? That was working, and they've
I don't
abandoned
know.
it.
I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know if Wiggins is gonna be out tonight, but if he isn't, that means he's gonna still be uh playing the four.
It
So
has to be because they're feeling the heat in their second unit from Jokic
yeah,
being out.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
the only reason why they're not happy with how the second unit's playing inside. Because outside of that, I don't know why they've abandoned starting Ware and Bam together.
Yeah. And then as for like you said, Joe Val, I, I mean, in certain situations, I would maybe play him, but like now they're fully healthy, right? Monty's
Yeah.
in, Levine is, DeRozan, Valanciunas against Cleveland. Am I paying that price for Valanciunas? No way. Vucevic never does right by me, so I will not play the dude. So I'm off. So honestly, it's like I'm paying up for like Jokic or a Cat tonight, or going down to these. I think Kessler's the next highest player that I'll be looking at price range, and then I'll work my way down because there are some value. Like Memphis has the Edie versus Kling combo,
Yes.
so and they've been performing. So that range is interesting
Oh,
to
I
me.
like it so. I need to know Aldama. What's the
Yeah,
deal with Aldama?
yeah. We gotta get all the injury
Yep.
situations.
Final thing, Surge and Surge Singh. You see him on the site, fantasyguru.com. We always hang out on the site and in Discord as well. Does a lot of great work with us, picks winners. Final question for you. We were just talking about the Knicks. I'm having trouble coming up with my core so far, but one player I know I haven't done this since he's become an 8K guy, but great matchup. We were just talking about Knicks Spurs. What do you think about a little bit of a higher price Josh Hart as a core play tonight?
I like it. I
It's
think
8K, but we'll find guys that are
it's
5K to
if
balance.
he's gonna get a triple double, I'm paying 8K.
Right.
And he honestly in this against the Spurs, I think he's gonna be out there dishing, grabbing rebounds. He's definitely gonna score here and there. Like I think this is a great situation for Hart. I'm back on the Knicks tonight. I think they will be lower. I think there's a possibility they would be lower owned. The total's not as high as you would think, but I think that's more credit to the Knicks defense than it is the Spurs defense. So I feel like the Knicks are a little safe tonight. And then if Mitch Rob I think he's questionable, right? Mitch Rob is
I
questionable.
have not seen if he's questionable or not.
Okay, but
I
I
did
think I
not see him
saw that
listed.
he's questionable. And then if he is ruled out, I think I'm jamming in Cat.
Yep, sub 10K right there. So you're
could-
looking up any other injury news we're seeing. Oh, Jordan Poole just up. Dude, like this is nuts. Jordan Poole just updated a questionable now. Marcus
So
Smart
annoying.
updated a
Oh
questionable.
yeah, so annoying. All right,
Dude,
this is gonna be
I
fun.
like Bub Carrington so much.
I know. I really want. Bub was a lock. Like I think at 7 a.m. I'm like, because I know I was gonna be on the show. I was like, Bub.
Now it's like it's okay. So the whole Wizards team is questionable. So we
Yeah.
shall wait and see regarding the stats. But that's why we talk it out. So far in that game between the Wizards and the Jazz, Walker Kessler is officially now the most trustworthy option there on a night with decent centers. But Serge, what's coming up on the site for you before I let you go here?
Not much. I got just chilling, you know.
Yes.
Got UFC on Fridays. I
There we
do the
go.
article. I do the article on Fridays and Sundays. Got the cheat sheet here and there. Try to drop in Discord all the time to help you guys out because I know you're putting in a major load, especially in the beginning of the week. You're like the NBA guy, so you know, just rocking it.
Nice, man. Well, Serge,
Yeah.
thank you so much again for stopping by. It's always great hanging out with you. Serge sometimes comes on my podcast, Fensty's Basketball Diaries, to chop it up about the NBA. We'll have to do that again there. A fellow Long Islander like yours truly, I believe, went to Half Hollows Hills, Tobias Harris's high school.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
Tobias Harris was a year younger than me.
so close right there.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
close.
yeah.
Thanks so much, Serge. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks for having me on,
Of
Fensty.
course, of course. Serge saying a lot of great analysts that we have at fantasyguru.com, and just getting to let you know, because look, you hear Jeff Mans a lot, you hear Ray Flowers a lot, you hear Ted, you hear me, you hear Armando, but it's great even talking to some of our other analysts too, who you see in Discord, who you read their content all the time, but then you get to see them and actually get to hear their strategies throughout the day as well. NBA is tough. DFS NBA is very, very difficult, especially this time of the year. But that's why we keep it locked in. That's why we keep you informed. That's why we constantly go over injury news for all of you. Hell, before this stream even started, I had a very different outlook on how I was going to attack this slate of games tonight, including Bub Carrington, who I was really loving tonight. But now, because Poole might play, it kind of waters down everybody else. So I'll just kind of give a quick glimpse on who I'm looking at besides some of the players I've talked about before. Very quickly with point guards, the standout point guard, I have trusted Tyler Hero a little bit more. I am going to be looking at Tyler Hero. We'll have to see regarding Halliburton, who's been playing through his back injury, and Luka Doncic too. We'll have to also see if Josh Giddey plays, because if Josh Giddey plays, it takes my interest away from naturally Trey Jones, but also a little bit from Kobe White too. Maybe because Kobe White's priced up a little bit more. So we'll have to see what the deal is with that. Minnesota like their guards for value. I know that Anthony Edwards is their main guy, but Dante DiVincenzo, since he's come back from injury, has been playing a lot better. I'm still trying to figure out what I'm doing when it comes to the Utah guards. Colin Sexton of the guards seems to be the most attractive, but at the same time, it just could be a battle royale for production, and maybe we stay away from it a little bit. With Ja Morant out, Desmond Bane has become very expensive. I like him a little bit better on FanDuel, but let me put it to you this way. Desmond Bane is more expensive on DraftKings than Devin Booker. That is where we've come to at this point. And to add more on that, Austin Reeves, Desmond Bane, Devin Booker, all more expensive than Donovan Mitchell, who is now sub 9K and has been a lot harder to trust. I talked with Serge about Quentin Grimes, whether or not we can trust him tonight. I think that is someone that we can look to trust this evening. Who's been getting more from the Memphis side, by the way? Luke Kennard has been benefiting a little bit more. As we go to forwards, who I'm looking at from there, trying to figure out, but one of my favorite plays on the night, Josh Hart. I'll give you one more that I'm into. If Josh Giddey sits again, Kevin Huerter certainly in play. The two guys that I like tonight very, very much for DFS, both in this same spot, Josh Hart, and then all the way down from a value, a guy who, from a reality standpoint, proves himself constantly. From a fantasy standpoint, will have a higher ceiling with no Trey Murphy, and that's Bruce Brown. So Bruce Brown in a very good spot. I think that at 4,100 on DraftKings, very attractive. And it helps you afford Josh Hart too. And for you FanDuel players out there, 8,100 to have a 4,600 player along with them from the forward side of it, that'll help balance out your budget. From the power forward standpoint, I wanted to get into this with Serge, but we didn't have enough time. A lot of people complaining about Najee Marshall, whether or not we can trust him. I'm debating whether or not to even write him up tonight. I do think he could come through. FanDuel, a lot more attractive at 7,400 than DraftKings. PJ Washington being back, to me, is moot because the Mavs are still missing a lot of their center options, and they can use whatever offense that they can get. So outside of that, Jokic in a good spot tonight. Karl Anthony, if he plays, Karl Anthony Towns, to me, and clearly to Serge Singh, has the matchup, the ideal matchup against San Antonio. And I'm going to be looking at a lot of those Knicks front court players and even Miles McBride too, because like Serge said, the Knicks play their starters a lot. Apparently, they've been complaining a little bit to Coach Tibbs about it. Coach Tibbs said, you're an NBA player, suck it up, to Mikal Bridges. But then we've seen him lay off of them with the Knicks are up by double figures. So, interesting that sometimes you have to make your bosses or even make these coaches aware that your team needs to rest a little bit. Going to be a playoff team. But I thank everybody for hanging out with me. Make sure you're watching tonight, after you listen to Jeff Mans and Ray Flowers on the Elite Sports Show on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. My American University Eagles in the first four taking on Mount St. Mary's. Let's watch them hopefully punch their ticket to the real big dance, which would be a first-round date with Duke University on Friday. And make sure you also, because Russell Clay joined earlier, so you can always rewind and catch that, make sure you catch our college basketball NCAA tournament stream 5 p.m. Eastern on fantasyguru.com. Ray Flowers back with you tomorrow, same time, noon Eastern, same place for Fantasy Sports Daily right here on the Elite Plus Network, powered by fantasyguru.com. Go AU. Once an Eagle.